Hi, welcome to Unapologetically You with myself, Tulse. And yeah, Kelly is on the other side of the world, so she's unable to join us today. But I have got the wonderful guest, Astha, who is the head of communications at Rajasthan Royals. Now, before we get into the podcast, it's just a quick reminder to let you know we are on Patreon. So if you would like to support us and help us continue to get great, amazing guests to speak to on a bi-weekly basis, please head over to Patreon in the link below. And obviously, we are on YouTube and on Spotify and Podbean too. So today's guest, Astha, she is an amazing superstar, head of communications, as I said, at Rajasthan Royals. She is so enthusiastic, full of zest, full of life in the field of sports. And she's got close to 12 years worth of experience in managing media for various sporting events across the country. Astha has been associated with terrific brands, events like Pro Wrestling League, Boxing Federation in India, Kings and Punjab, Hero Indian Open, cricketer. She's been involved with marshals, cyclists in the Indian Open and the Uber Cup. So she's got a wealth of experience, and I hope you enjoy this podcast with Astha. So Astha, welcome.
Thank you, Tulsi. Thank you for having me.
It's nice. Thank you so much. You are going through, well, I'm sure we're going to get this in the podcast a little bit later, but you are going through a bit of a challenging time at work, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we are towards the resumption of the IPL, so it's always exciting and the challenging time.
Exactly. We'll get into that. So we're going to tease our audience a little bit. But for those of you, for our audience who haven't heard about you, tell us, what is your background? How did you enter into the world of cricket? And most importantly, how did you end up as a head of communications at Rajasthan Royals?
So, I mean, it's kind of a very interesting story, but first, a little bit about myself. My name is Astha. I come from a place called Dehradun in India, which is a very small valley. But is very famous for world-class education. So yeah, I've done my schooling from one of the best schools in Dehradun, and then in 2006, when I thought about that I should be pursuing mass communication. At that time, not many colleges in India were actually offering a course like mass communication. They only had, their focus on journalism, and mass communication was a part of that course. However, I was very clear from day one that I do not want to become a journalist. I wanted to do something different and try out what all mass comm actually includes in it. Thankfully, I got through Amity University, which was offering a degree in journalism and mass communication. But because it highlighted that it's going to teach you every aspect of comms, which made life easier for me. So I enrolled for it 3 years, graduation from Amity in mass communication. And towards the last semester, we're about to do an internship, which is like a corporate internship, to be able to qualify for the final round. And I happened to do it with a very small PR agency that had like clients in education. And I found it quite interesting because your career in PR really revolves around not just writing or speaking, but doing research, finding those industry trends, reading about how you can have your brand way ahead in terms of the competitors, etc. So I think that enthused me, and I wanted to, just see the advertising side of the career also, and then make my decision. I took up an internship in an advertising agency also. But however, I think I made my decision very clear that I wanted to enter public relations. And that is how it actually began. And moving up in my career, I happened to service Kings 11 Punjab, which is now Punjab Kings, at the start of my career itself. And that is also thanks to, my bosses at the agency side, because I was never interested in sports. I always thought sports is sport. I mean, you follow it. What do you do in terms of work in sport? So I was never enthused of, having a career in sport. So I was pretty excited to join that agency because they offered me clients in defense, aviation, automation, which was my interest, working for brands like Ferrari, Ducati, and all. I never imagined myself working for a sport team, but they pushed me into it. And they said, just try it once. So I said, okay, with a very heavy heart, because I did not want to do it. I still said, okay, I'll try it. I did go to the camp and did the conference and everything for the first time. And then I came back and I said, nah, I didn't like it. So I don't want to do it. And they're like, no, but the client said you were brilliant. And I'm like, huh? How? I said, but it's not something that it probably resonates with me, or, I'm not able to feel comfortable that I have to work in sport or something like that. But they still pushed me. I know at that time I was feeling like I should quit this agency and go somewhere else. But I think I'm very glad for that agency to have pushed me, because I did 3 seasons of Punjab Kings at that time. And for someone to start their career in IPL is a very, very big thing. And from there on, actually the journey into sport started, wherein we got various clients like Yuvraj Singh and Hero India Open, which is the golf tournament. So having worked in sport and having built a niche for the company itself, I thought after 3.5 years that I really didn't want to work for someone. I just wanted to work for myself, because one, I have never been very fond of corporate cultures. It gives you that added pressure that you have a boss sitting on your head, and then there are different kinds of people, different kind of attitudes flowing, and just too much going around in the office culture, which I wasn't very fond of. And considering I also come from a business family, it was always at the back of my mind that I have to do something on my own, something on my own. I think I pushed the limit. I was sitting out without a job, without a single penny for about 8 months. And I'm like, oh, did I make a wrong decision? And then I was like, let's try it again for 3 more months. The only good part is that in those 8 months, I never stopped giving interviews. I always give interviews because I feel that testing water is very, very essential for everyone. I think till today also, if someone calls me for an interview and if that job excites me, even though I wouldn't want to join, I will definitely sit for the interview just to see that am I even capable to get through or not. Or you get to learn so much by giving an interview, by presenting yourself, and the kind of people actually you're meeting. It becomes very important for yourself also to gain insight what's happening in the industry, what new things are coming out, and what are the opportunities really in the sports world beyond what you already are doing. So that ways it happened. And coming to Rajasthan Royals was also a very beautiful coincidence. And I was actually after having worked for 5 years with different sports other than cricket, I was actually trying to get back to cricket also. I wanted to do something again in cricket, because I did boxing, tennis and mixed martial arts, every other sport. But I think I was missing the feeling of working in cricket. So I decided that I'll look for an opportunity. I went ahead and looked at CSK and Rajasthan Royals, the two franchises that were banned for 2 years, were coming back in 2018, and it was decided in 2017. So I think I started looking around as to how do I approach people. And I saw a post of Rajasthan Royals for their sponsorship team on LinkedIn by a member of the team itself. So I just happened to write an email to him saying that I know you're not a right person to be asking this, but I'm looking for something in public relations and communications department of Royals. If you are happy to explore, let me know. I think what caught him was that someone actually approaching him realistically through LinkedIn, because people generally do not do this these days. And it's very surprising. So he called me and he said, you know what, you're a little late because we already have finalized a PR agency. And I'm like, oh, that's really sad. And I was in middle of an event. I was actually doing one of the world's second, it's called Airtel Delhi Half Marathon. It's the half marathon that happens in India, and it's actually world famous. I'm like, can you give me one chance? Like, maybe just give me a chance to present what I feel. And if you still don't like it, I will not come in the way and you can hire the PR agency. He's like, let me speak to the HR and get back to you. He spoke to the HR and he said, okay, they're ready to give you a chance, but you only have 2 hours. I'm like, huh? I'm sitting in the marathon in 2 hours. What will I prepare? So I was like, okay, let me try and do something. In 2 hours, I prepared just 4 slides, which clearly had the strategy of what I feel about Royals, what I feel is missing in Royals and what I can actually bring in. I think after that, I didn't get a call from him. I directly called the call from HR that the chairman wants to meet you. And I'm like, chairman wants to meet me? Okay. There was something which I cannot really say what I wrote over here, there in the strategy, but it stuck them. It stuck them really that nobody has been so open and so honest with us that, this is what is missing from RR. And she has really pointed it. They met me, and in 5 minutes, the chairman told me that come to Bombay next week and get your contract signed. And I told him one thing, sir, I want to work as a consultant. If you're happy with that, because you will not see any lack of hard work, dedication from my end, but I just want to feel in my head that I have that freedom. And I'm very glad that the chairman, Ranjit, he literally stood by me and said, yes, we agree to that. We just want you to work wonders in the company. And they're absolutely happy because this is my 4th season, I'm assuming. So they're happy.
I love that. That's such a great story, because it's like, I really found it interesting when you said you go to interviews because you learn more. And I don't know anybody who is within their role and openly goes to learn about themselves in that way. And that's so important. So that's so commendable that you do that. And you had the tenacity and the feistiness to, ask for these roles and ask to have them in your specific boundary. You wanted to be a consultant, you didn't want to be employed, and that takes guts. Like, where did that come from? Is that naturally in you, or did you, get it from your family? Like, where did that come from? How do people cultivate that?
I think yes, somewhere I really feel that family imbibes that value in you. Like my father has worked in the biggest companies in India called Tatas, but he also eventually left his job because he felt that it's not something going down well with him. He wants to do something on his own. So I think he also started early. He took that challenge. It's okay, where we'll build it on. The same I feel has come into me. It's not come into my brother, but it's come into me, which we highly accept. And I'm quite ambitious in life. Like people say that, maybe you're greedy or you're just running after money. But for me, it's very clear. At the end of the day, I want to earn so much of money that with that money, if I'm able to impact 5 other lives, I'll be happy. So it's not just that I'm earning for my own. I'm only earning because, tomorrow, if I really want to help someone or do something for someone, I should have money, right? I can't just come around, hug you and say, oh, it's so sad. That doesn't help anyone. Did it help in COVID? You couldn't even hug anyone. What helped in COVID was if you had a little extra on you, splurge it on others. Try and provide help in the best way you can. This has been like my go-to thing, that yes, I want to earn money. I'm very clear on my fact that I really want to earn big money for myself. Also, I want to enjoy my life the way I want, but yes, I should have that kind of money also, that I'm happily impacting others. I don't have to literally think about, oh, will I be able to give someone 100 pound, 200 pound? I shouldn't be thinking about this, right? I should just be doing it.
Yeah, that's so true. And I love the fact that you're going beyond yourself and you're saying, right, I've got my basics, and how can I extend my service? And even if it's in a monetary way, sometimes
Yeah.
that helps organizations and charities, nonprofits, things like that. But it's funny that you say that, because for those of people who don't know, rupees, £100 in rupees is quite a lot of money. And so, yeah, you need to have that, awareness of, why are you doing this? What is the bigger plan for you? And I love that you come back to service. So that has obviously been ingrained in you through your family and, giving you those roots. So that's really, really nice to hear of. Even to our audience, if you don't know your why yet, and if you've got your basics, then what? Because there was a study saying the threshold for happiness income is £75,000. So if you can earn £75,000, whether you earn £75,000 a year or £1 million, the happiness scale is the same. So it won't matter any extra income you make. it's about the relationships, it's about your why, it's your purpose, how are you giving back to others? And I like the way you said you're just thinking about somebody else, and you don't want to have to then worry about the money in your pocket paying for your basics. But then
you are an Indian, right? So just to give you an example, you would know how much belief generally there is around God in the world, but Indians especially, because they have millions and millions of gods over here. My belief has been, whenever I go to a temple or anything, I do not put anything in the donation box. If I'm able to feed one kid on my own, I will be more satisfied rather than putting something in that donation box. So this is what has encouraged me. I do not believe that there is someone sitting above. It's sitting inside you, right? If you do good deeds, good things will come to you. My mother often says to me, you're just, wasting so much of your money and all. I said, the more I spend, the more it will come to me. If I just
I
store
love
it
that.
anyway, and tomorrow, if I die in a plane crash, what am I going to do with that money?
That is so true. Me and my dad talk about this all the time. He advocates charity starts at home, but if you've got enough, spend it. And I'm under the mentality of you've got to spend to then get back. So the thing is, who are you spending the money on? Which organization, which charity? And it could just be, right, instead of going to a well-branded organization, go to your local, go support the farmers and the butchers and the bakers, and they're your locals, because they'll need your support too. And then they can hire more people, and they can feed their family, and they can support other people. So I really, really like that.
Yeah.
And so moving back to your career and thinking about the challenges that you've gone through, because you've just dissected a really nice fairy, dream scenario that you started off in education, you've gotten into your internships, and then you went straight into work. But what were the challenges in between? Like, when you said during those 8 months, you felt like, is this the right decision? What was that like for you? Like, I remember when I was working in strength and conditioning, I remember, I think it was 2 times specifically, I hardly ever cry. And I'm crying on my best friend's couch, just going, is this good enough? Like, I don't even know why I'm here. Like, because should I just quit it all and just do a 9-to-5 job and just get consistent money in? Because right now I'm not seeing it. And that was the precipice between, it was like sticking with it and then things unleashed. But I think everybody, especially in business, will get to a point where they feel like giving up. What was that feeling like for you, and how did you cope with that?
I guess, yes, it was the most, challenging time for me, those 8 months, because I was sitting at home and just mailing different people, trying to contact different people, but no response coming in. And I was like, did I not start my career on the right side? Or, did I not happen to service the best clients? Because if you see my resume at that time, it had one of the most amazing brands in the world on my resume. And, for someone to see it and not hire me, I was actually started to deliberate that either something is wrong that I did in my career, or I shouldn't have quit my job. So it all happened. And in between, I was giving certain interviews also. And what happened was, then I came through someone that, you should approach this person because she happens to work on a lot of sports clients. So you could start off something with her. I approached her for approximately 5 months. She did not respond. But I guess the day she responded, she actually called me by herself and she said, my apologies. Can you come to Delhi and meet me? Because, I had fallen ill and then I was engrossed in work after that. I know how sincerely you have followed up with me, so I would like to meet you. So then I went all the way to Delhi to meet her. And she said that, yeah, okay, let's do this thing. Let's start on a small project. And project to project, you can work with me if I like you. So I said, absolutely agreed. I mean, and at that time, she asked me, what would you like as a remuneration? And I said, at this point, I really don't care about remuneration. All I care about is that I'm getting some work, because after 8 months, I really need to get back into action. That was the first smallest project that I ever did. I mean, in terms of the project, it was a very big project, but the money that I got was very small and I did not even ask for anything on it. She actually, what she promised, she paid me 5,000 above that because she said that you have done a tremendous job. And I was like, that boosted me. That gave me a confidence that I haven't done anything wrong. I haven't lost my touch. It's just about focus and finding that right opportunity, which might just take time. But yes, from that day, I did not look back. And I have just been working in that cycle only. And I worked with her for about 2 years on different projects. But in that meantime, I was always building my relationships with people around, meeting different sets of people, and just finding those opportunities to work on, which really helped. And then in 2017 was the biggest client that I got, which was Pro Wrestling League at that time. It was India's first ever wrestling league that was going to start. Very exciting, very challenging. And yeah, I mean, I got a call that, would you like to work on this? And I'm like, yeah. But I said, I don't come cheap. I will come at a good price because now I have established myself. So I just can't boil down on the money. They're like, no problem with that. You just be on board and work with us. The client loved me absolutely, and they also offered me a job, but I said no. You hire me as a consultant for your project, I'm available, but no job. So
That's,
yeah,
that's a
challenging.
terrific story because obviously you're doing something right. But I wanted to just go back a couple of steps as well, because when you did an introduction, you gave me so much information. As a strength and conditioning coach, as a performance coach, what we do in each sport is we dissect the needs analysis of that sport to make it relevant to the athlete or the team. Now, when you do your role as a communications expert, as the manager of that team or that specific athlete, do you need to, I presume, but correct me if I'm wrong, do you need to analyze what their communication techniques are like, what the rules are regarding specific organizations? Like in Formula One, they say you have to go to these conferences, otherwise you'll get fined. So do you have to do a lot of research behind all of that and understand what the athlete or the team needs?
So definitely, I think every league or every sport in the world works very differently in terms of their protocols and their structures. And with my experience of working in so many different sports, it actually gave me an edge also to implement something from somewhere into something. That gives me an edge, and I happen to do that. So whenever I enter into an organization, the first thing that we do is form a strategy. It's not just a strategy for the team, because the team is of course the players, your athletes, but there is management also behind, there is coaching staff also behind that team, right? So when, especially as an example, when you're forming a communication strategy for the entire IPL team, you need to have, your team owner is involved so much into media because, he's the spokesperson. You have a CEO who's again involved so much. You have the chairman, then you have your coaching staff, your performance coaches, your strength and conditioning coaches, your fielding, bowling, batting coaches, your head coach, and then your playing team. So you have to devise strategy for different people in different ways. So how we do is we chalk out a plan according to what is responsibility of the CEO to speak about, what is the responsibility of owners, what is the responsibility of athletes and players, what is the responsibility of coaching staff. We give them examples also, like say suppose there are sponsorship stories, so then sponsorship very clearly the CEO has to speak about. It's not something for the owner to go into. The owner will speak about big ambitions, way forward for the franchise, some challenges, or maybe crisis. Those are the kind of things that your owner will be involved in. Players, one is that we need to build profile of so many players that come in, because IPL is a platform that gives chances to the raw young talent, right? It picks up people from domestic circuit also to give them a platform to showcase their talent. So you have to start profiling those, and then for the biggies that you already have in terms of your Stokes or Archers or Samsons of the world, then you need to see that, you get the best media opportunities for them. You put them into conferences. Yes, there are certain guidelines, there are certain compulsory media appearances that you have to do for sponsors, for BCCI, your cricket board. So yes, that also we abide by. So everything is structured. It's just that how we fit it into our strategy.
I like that. I like the way it's organized and structured that way, but it just means there's a lot more work for you, right?
True, absolutely. So, see, every team has to play 14 matches, 7 away games, 7 home games in the IPL, which means you have to do 14 pre-match and 14 post-match conferences.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot to strategize, but obviously you're doing something right. However, what happens when social media is on the tips of athletes' fingertips? What happens when somebody you're working with wants to speak their mind and in an instant they get perceived the wrong way? What's the situation? How do you deal with things like that? Is there an example that you've got that somebody's done that?
I think, earlier the social media wasn't this powerful. Now it is quite powerful. Things have changed. Dynamics of social media has changed completely. So, if 5 years early you did something on social media, that may just get highlighted today. That may not get highlighted that day. So it's very strange that you asked me, and I'll give you a very recent example. I'm not sure how much did you follow this news in India, but Raj Kundra, who's a very famous businessman in India, he happens to be the husband of actress Shilpa Shetty. He got arrested on Monday night for pornography. So exactly. So now imagine, he's a very famous man, one, because he has a famous wife, and plus he's a famous businessman himself. Now, a couple of years back, he would have done tweets about a league that he started called Super Fight League, which is your mixed martial arts league. And one of the India's prominent cricketers at that time, Ajinkya Rahane, he happened to have tweeted that, "Sir, you're doing a great job, and continue the good work and all." And Raj also replied that you should come and watch it live. Now, your social media buggers, what have they done? They have just screenshotted that chat and put it out saying that Ajinkya Rahane is speaking this. I mean, come on. He is speaking in the context of what happened in 2012, wherein Raj Kundra started a mixed martial art league, which actually became very famous, talk of the town. And Ajinkya just enjoyed it because Ajinkya himself is a karate black belt. So, but do you see the game of social media, how it can turn dangerous for you, and how people can just tweak and, just put out anything in any form? So one, what we do differently for our athletes and our management and everyone is we do a media training before every season, whether it's for the newcomer, whether it's for the biggies, whether it's for the management. We train everyone, whether you are speaking to the media or not, it doesn't matter. But all of you these days are on social media, it does matter to us. Plus, we have a very good relationship with Facebook, Twitter. So we ask them, and they also suggest that, they would like to do workshop with players, at least those players that are budding players who still do not know how to use the platform, make it easy for them, teach them all the features, give them the do's and don'ts, how can they build their profile on Instagram, Twitter, etc. So we do encourage education. It's in the core of Rajasthan Royals to actually encourage education, because that is a primary thing, right? If you're not educated about certain things, you are bound to make those mistakes. If that mistake does happen at times, I mean, the first of the thing is to sit back and analyze what are you going to do about it, and not just jump on it. Because, my CEO also says this, that even in an urgent situation, you have enough time to think about it. So just don't jump. In the most urgent situations also, you will have enough time. So why not utilize that kind of thing that, just sit back, relax for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and think, do you need to respond to something, or is it unnecessary? You need to make the right decision at that time. If you are confused, Call your manager, call your social media manager, ask your colleagues, ask someone you believe in that, I want to say this. Is this correct or not? I get those kinds of messages from athletes all around the world that I have worked with. And they always ask me, is this right? Should we put this out or should we not? At least I can give them that direction. And sometimes if I don't feel they should put something out, then I say, you don't need to put this out. It's unnecessary. So that education is very important in players of all ages, all kinds, whether you're playing domestic, first team, whatever. It's very important for you to be educated, but it's not the responsibility of the athletes, but the responsibility of the teams, the boards, and everyone involved in making those players. So you can't really blame a player. With our education also, our parents were responsible, right? That we go to a nice school, we get the best education. It's the same with athletes. They need to get the right kind of education.
I agree with that. And I've never heard it in that perspective, because we're so quick to blame the athlete or the team or the organization generally. And we're saying, well, why did they put that out? Or why did they respond this way? But we're forgetting the structure that has gone around it, the organization that you've got. As you said, everybody has their own specific responsibility and role and the way they communicate. But it is about education. It's education on all levels, right? If you are enhancing their knowledge and giving them the ability to ask why, well, then in the next scenario or situation, they may make better decisions. And as you said, it's not all down to that one individual, because they have a lot of rules and regulations to comply with. And what one person sending out a casual tweet will be taken into 50 million different perspectives, because you're not just targeting one person, you're targeting the world, depending upon how famous you are, obviously.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so moving into, I know we spoke about some of the challenges you've gone through, but what are your peaks and troughs regarding your best and worst career moments to date? Do you have significant ones that you were like, okay, this just ended up a big pile of mess, and this is how I coped with it, this is what I learned? And then also, what was the biggest, proudest moment that has come across in your career?
Yeah, I think proud moment would definitely be many, because I certainly feel that if you're not proud of your work, then nobody can be. So you have to be proud of yourself at first. You have to be really thinking that you're doing the right thing. Otherwise, seriously, you can't really achieve anything or be happy about what you're doing. Most people these days are not happy with their jobs. So I think I am on the other side then, because I love my job, and that is why I'm so passionate about working also so hard. I don't really care about time, or how much time I'm spending on it or how much effort I'm putting on it, until and unless I'm loving it. The day I start getting irritated or start hating it, I might just quit. That it's over for me, because it's no point putting yourself in a situation wherein you don't like a particular thing. So proud moment for me has been that when actually I did happen to tell you this earlier also, that when the British boxer Amir Khan's team approached me and said that he's coming to India and we would like to work with you, that is something very nice for me, because till that time I was only focused on Indian projects, Indian things, Indian sports. But an international athlete or an international entity approaching me, that makes me really proud that, oh, I have done something good. I am making right moves in the direction of sport. And then I think secondly, I was very proud of that, when Yuvraj Singh, the person that I was working with, he's most famous Indian cricketer, who's won you the World Cup in cancer situation. And he was actually making a comeback and he rolled out a book. I had never worked on book launches. I did not even know how to work on a book launch or a book. But I think I pushed my bar and started experimenting around how to do this or how to do that, and I succeeded in that. And after that I got 5 different projects of book launches. So something that you do for the first time and then you can make the most of it. So there have been proud moments like that though. And when, of course, Rajasthan Royals chairman met me and said, in 5 minutes you're hired. So definitely that's another proud moment for me. Weak moments have been many, because sport is one thing that does give you that adrenaline rush, but it does give you that tears also. Because, there are certain situations wherein you are so helpless that you don't know how to communicate with someone, when especially you're young and you're put forward in front of the athletes that are world famous. You really don't know how is the other person going to react and all. Thankfully, till today, I have not met any athlete who would have put tantrums around or anything. They worked very nicely with me. But I think, the weakest moment of the downfall was me for actually waiting for those 8 months and not getting a project. That would be my like biggest weak moment, I would say. And because that was like a break in my career, which I never imagined. I thought that I could have made the most out of that time also, but that was something that did not work out for me. um Other than that, not really a weak moment, I would say. I'm always very high and passionate about whatever I'm doing, and I'm very happy with my career.
Amazing. And is there a specific sport that you have your aspirations on? Is it a bit like, I know when you first were like, I don't want to get into sport, and now this whole world is opened up to you. Is there a specific sport that you think, actually, that might be a little bit of a challenge that I could take on right now?
Yeah, so I think Premier League is something that I'm very, very keen on. Again, I don't follow football like a buff would do, but working in a football scenario will be completely different because I haven't worked on it till now. And I don't know, but I'm really fond of combat sports like wrestling and boxing. Really, really like those sports. So, something big fight, or, maybe a UFC or something like that. I don't know, maybe a big match that I could be a part of.
Interesting. Yeah, maybe it's like the Summer Slam that they have with the WWE.
Yeah. So I happen to have worked with the Khali, who's the Indian wrestler who was in WWE. So I've had that kind of thing also. But something like a big boxing fight like Floyd Mayweather, Conor McGregor, or someone like that.
Oh, I like that. Big ambitions. I like that. You'll have to tell us when you reach that pinnacle, because I'm sure you're going to get it.
Yeah.
And I know you mentioned about you being a consultant, and you get job offers, and sometimes for a lot of people, they like the stability, they like the regular pay, they like having possibly a pension or a car scheme and all of these, bells and whistles that the organization can give. But because you established yourself, you wanted to work for yourself, as you said, it stemmed from the family, in that company called BTN Communications. But tell us why that you prefer being a consultant. And I feel like it's important as a female leader and for other females just to understand, what is the benefit of being your own entrepreneur and CEO, so you can then establish your own rules and regulations behind that rather than working for an organization or a company.
Yeah. I think it's very difficult, Tulsi, to be honest. It's really very difficult to put it across because, different people have different choices and different ambitions in life. So I can only speak for myself at this moment because I never wanted to be, under a boss. I never wanted to be one. If someone does like that way, I mean, come on, my brother has done the job for 12, 13 years. He's still doing a job under someone. If he enjoys that, then it's his life, his choice, right? I think for me, it was in my head only that I do not like that there are six bosses sitting on my head and telling me that I have to do this or that. I have developed myself into one that can make decisions what will work for the brand best. I have really worked hard on that part, that today if someone asks me that we are in such a situation, I will be able to give a solution to them in terms of their strategy. So I would say that it's choices. But yes, being a consultant has its pros and cons, to be honest. It's not very easy. You don't have a regular income, like you said. And sometimes it's very difficult, especially when people have EMIs. Because I think most of the people in this world are actually working under the pressure of EMIs that they have to pay, even if they're not happy with their jobs.
And EMIs are?
your monthly installments, your car
Okay.
loan or your
Gotcha.
home loan. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So
Gotcha.
most of the pressure is of that, right? That
Of
is
course.
why people are struggling, working hard every day. For me, I would say a little being biased, that I was lucky that I come from a good family, because I knew that finances will never be a problem. However, my father has always imbibed it in us that, you don't have to rely on me, you have to make something on your own, which was very important for us. We did work hard on it, my brother and myself. But yes, we have followed our passions also. Like, my brother is into music, he loves that, he's following that. But yeah, the thing that I keep telling him also is that, your passion is expensive, it's not easy. So you have to work really hard to be able to follow your passion. One electric guitar would come for about 5,000 pounds, 10,000 pounds. How will you get that money? You have to work hard towards it, right?
Yeah.
And like I am a buff, like I said, love spending money on people. I am absolutely in charity, but till the time I don't have pockets, how will I spend out of my pocket? So something that you really need to think through. One, the first, what is actually that you're trying to achieve,
Mhm.
and why do you want to achieve that? If you're very clear with your thought process, then I think it's very easy for you to make a decision, even if you will fall in that. Because you can easily fail in whatever you do. In 8 months, several times it crossed my mind also that I should get hired somewhere and do a job. It's not like I wasn't getting interviews, but I think I took a back seat and said, no, I will still try if I can get a project. So I think it's your willpower. And definitely, I will suggest that if someone wants to do something like this, they need to take the risk early, because taking the risk early will give you two things. One, either you will succeed or you will fail. But if you fail, at least you will have time in hand to go back to where you were. So do not take so much of risk at an age where you will probably feel regret that, oh my God, what did I do with my career? Take it at a young age.
That's a really good advice, especially for young entrepreneurs and careers who are coming up through their careers. Sorry. So, if they're female or male, whatever they're coming into, yeah, taking that risk, as you said so wisely, you do get to have that risk. And what is it between the risk and reward? So yeah, you said it so brilliantly there. But on the back of some sage advice for the young population, we both know that communications and sport in India isn't really a common career path for women to enter into. But why do you think that is? And what pathways are there for women to enter and work in the industry within sport?
I guess, yeah, I mean, not just communication, but generally in sport, women, representation has been low. It's increasing now, which is so good to see. It's also basically, especially I can speak, I think, from India perspective, that over here it's still a male dominant, sports industry that is seen as, considering, unsurprisingly, your biggest athlete of India is Sachin Tendulkar. Yeah, it's people. If today Harmanpreet is playing so well, or Smriti Mandhana is playing so well, they won't say Smriti Mandhana did this. They'll say, oh, the next Virat Kohli. Why the next Virat Kohli? Why can we not be the first Smriti Mandhana or Harmanpreet Kaur? I mean, people need to change perceptions. That's the only thing. And with the way the sport is progressing and things are changing, like, this is the first ever time that, Olympics has the biggest contingent in so many years. So many athletes are participating, which is so powerful to see, and such a female representation, especially from India. I mean, your wrestling medal contingent is Indian, your boxing medal contingent is Indian, your table tennis contingent in Indian, female Indian. So definitely it's so powerful to see that your female representation is slowly increasing, and they need to become perfect role models for people to follow. Like Mary Kom has done that. People know that she is a world champion, multiple time world champion. She's the one so powerful that she's actually a Rajya Sabha member, like a parliament member also in India. it makes the difference for people also following the sport, right? That to see your sports persons are becoming the voice of the country, it does make you feel proud. For us, Sania Mirza, Saina Nehwal, PV Sindhu for that matter these days, she's the best badminton player as of now in India, and she's doing so well. That is the kind of role models that we need. Indian women cricket team is doing so well and making us so proud. And the best part is that Indian male cricketers are promoting them well. This did not happen earlier. This is happening now. So things are changing. It will take time, but we must not forget that, representation really doesn't matter till the time you're doing something that will any which way make you stand out.
Yeah, for sure. And you make a really good point about the male team supporting the females. I mean, there has been countless times, and there was controversy a couple of months ago regarding a female promoting their team and what was happening in the evening, but it contradicted the support of the male team. And then it just ended up, again, a communication error where it just blew up, and she ended up feeling mental stress and anxiety. And, she actually went into turmoil because of that tweet. And it just goes to show, actually, if we can support one another, not as just as individuals, but as teams, and increasing that role model representation, then we don't need to force women into this industry, especially in sport. They've already got the representation as a role model, and whoever sees them as a young kid will then either make the decision that they do or do not want to get into that role. And maybe making roles more prominent on social media. Like you and I, probably when we were growing up, we never knew that. Well, I didn't know you can work in sports and become a coach, right? Because who does that? And then you didn't know, like, do communications in sport, because when you're in school, you're like, okay, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to become a doctor or a teacher or a lawyer or an accountant? And if you're Indian, you've got all these strategies, like make sure you get a good job. Yeah, secure job, stay in there. So we are being told from our culture, well, this is ordinary, but let's expand that bubble and just say, look, these are the possibilities, and this is the area. It's not just as an athlete or a team where you can go to support staff and they are valued. And how you can make it unique and your own.
Yeah, I think one point for me to add over here is that at the end of the day, your family ecosystem does play a huge role in this. Because, if you do not get that right platform in your house, you cannot really make most of it. The support that we need from Indian families is still a lot. I mean, people still feel that, you just can be Virat Kohli in one day. It's not possible, right? He has to break several windows to become a Virat Kohli. He can't just become one overnight. Or for that matter, Mary Kom has given her heart and soul, even after when she was pregnant and she gave birth to her kids. After that, also, she made a comeback. It does need that family support throughout. So, ecosystem of the family does need to change. Parents do need to understand that there are various career opportunities these days. It may not pay well at the start, but it surely is a big, big opportunity going forward. And you cannot just become a Richard Branson in one day. You really need to work hard towards becoming one.
Oh, I love that. We've had so many good nuggets in this. And so thank you so much for just giving us all of this information. And we'll have to get you back on and tell us the trials and successes of the next venture with Rajasthan Royals. But for our next part of our podcast, was we normally go into quick fires. And there's just a few things that our audience can get to know about you and your likes. So do you have books that you read? What is something that you do to kind of take the pressure off? Is it just completely saturated in communications? What are your three favorite books? Tell us.
I think my most favorite is Start With Why. It's by Simon Sinek. And because, my chairman also said once, if you can't find your why, then it's impossible for you to succeed. So I think that book gives you a perspective. It does give you, thought process. You literally, like when I read the book, I started writing down on my notepad about my why. And that is why I have been able to find my why. That why am I doing this job, or what do I want to do with my life and all. I do have ambitions that are money oriented, but it's okay. I mean, I feel that way. So it's my why. So that is, I think, my most favorite book.
Amazing. Perfect. And what is your favorite thing to do outside of work? Like, we know that work consumes us daily. So what helps you recover and take the foot off the gas?
I think when inside a microwave you see your cake rising up, that is something that gives me really, really pleasure. So I'm into baking, and I have started taking it pretty seriously now. I have informed my office also about it, that I am taking it pretty seriously. That every evening, or at least every weekend, I make sure I bake about 2 to 3 things, different kind of things, and all my neighbors get the treats, and they're very happy. Some of my neighbors have come to me and said that, the time you leave, we'll be very sad because the supplies will end.
That's brilliant. Baking is a soothing thing to do, isn't it? I definitely got into baking when I was training more, and I was like, it's just an excuse to, eat more cake.
Correct.
Fantastic. And so our very last question we ask all of our guests is, if you could name one person and you would like to hear from who you may not know, who would you recommend to be a guest on Unapologetically You?
I think there's this person I met just about 1.5 years ago, and it was just a normal introduction call. She's the diversity producer at BBC called Archie Kalyan. And when we chatted for the first time, it was just very professional chat about what we could do together. Somehow, with her network, her kind of knowledge and everything, and plus she being, of course, from Indian background and the diversity producer. So I was very enthused first with that designation. I was like, what does a diversity producer do? And she laughed, and then she shared a lot of information with me, and the culture at BBC and everything about what they do. We have been connected since then. It's not just work that we talk about, but we talk about a lot of things. And she produces and covers India, Pakistan, all the Asian countries cricket. So definitely one of the ladies that I would like the listeners to hear from.
That's incredible. Well, thank you so much for your time and your insights and your wisdom, especially, how to get into the career and stay motivated as well. So, and hard work obviously encompasses, umbrellas, everything. So thank you so much, Astha, for taking time out to speak with us and being a guest on Unapologetically You.
Thank you so much for having me. It was wonderful speaking to you.
All right, we'll see you soon.
Yeah.